It's time for Twig This Week in Google. We'll find out how they blurred a house in Germany in real life. We'll talk about the Twitter and whether the Times gets it, and a whole lot more. This Week in Google is up next.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Bandwidth for This Week in Google is provided by Cachefly. CACHEFLY.com. This is Twig, This Week in Google, episode 95, recorded May 18th, 2011. The Algo is complicated. This Week in Google is brought to you by Squarespace.com, the fast and easy way to create a high-quality website or blog. For a free 14-day trial, go to squarespace.com/twig, and be sure to check out their annual plans for savings of up to 20% off. It's time for Twig This Week in Google. Gina Trapani is here. Am I saying that right now?
No.
How do you say it?
Not Trapani.
Trapani.
Trapani is how I say it.
Gina Trapani
is okay too.
Trapani. Gina Trapani is here. I'm sorry. Gina, I've been mispronouncing her name for 94 episodes.
No. Trapani is a completely valid pronunciation,
She's
but
nice.
Trapani is not.
Even at Google I.O. last week, you could have slapped me upside the head and said, say my name right. But no, she's just too nice.
No, it's all It's all good. I'm down with those two pronunciations.
All right.
But Trapani, no.
I'm going to say
no.
it wrong from now on because now...
Yeah,
Tomato, Leo. It's all good.
I'm not going to every possible variation now.
Yeah, I'll never get it right. That's Jeff Jarvis from BuzzMachine.com.
Easy to say.
Yes, he's a professor. He should know. So Jeff, Gina, and I will talk about This Week in Google. And actually, before the show began, we were talking about a TED Talk that's been making the rounds by, is it Eli Pariser? Is that his name, Jeff?
Yeah.
You're going to debate him.
Well, now I don't know. Now I don't know how to
Riser.
pronounce any name on earth.
Gina, Purser, whatever.
I have no idea.
He's from MoveOn.org, which is, I think, a respectable political site. And he did a TED Talk on something called Filter Bubbles, saying that customized search from companies like Facebook, the Huffington Post, Google, kind of disenfranchise people because we end up seeing just the stuff we want to see, not stuff we ought to see. Is that
the old echo chamber argument that I think is exactly the opposite for a few reasons. One is there was no worse an echo chamber than an old media property like a newspaper where one editor picked stuff for us. Now I have far more serendipity. I have far more choice. Second, turn it off and what you get is the same thing everybody else has. What he's doing is turning this all into a mass again. We're finally escaping the mass. I don't want to go back to that where we all supposedly watch the same thing we don't care about.
That's a good point. I mean, you can clearly make the point, I'm sure Google does, that this kind of search personalization is what people want. They want results that are more like what they're looking for.
Relevance. Do I want irrelevance? Yep. I want other noise? No, I want reduced noise. And then I think that the idea that this somehow ill-service us, that we should have the same thing as everyone else, as I say, really is a problem of thinking of us as a mass. It's kind of a, pardon me for this now, professorial moment. It's a Habermas moment.
What's that?
It's saying that we're all in the same public sphere, and the entire value of these new tools is that we can create our own publics and our own worlds.
All right, but what do you say to the fact that we no longer have serendipity? That serendipity helped expose us to viewpoints we didn't agree with.
I have far more serendipity than ever. Editors define serendipity as that which they fed you.
That's true.
The definition of serendipity that I have, and The Guardian tried a while ago, as a joke, to do a serendipity generator. It was a random generator of stories. And I'm sure Steve in the prior show would explain to me how it's not exactly random, but I won't understand.
Pseudo-random, just pseudo-random.
It's a pseudo-random listing of stories. And I said, that's not serendipity. Serendipity is not randomness. Serendipity, in my definition, is unexpected relevance.
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know that. I'm glad I know that now. That's interesting to me. I wouldn't have known that would be interesting to me, right? That kind of stuff.
I like that, and you want that.
Right,
that's the kind of thing as you browse that people say, well, when you browse in a bookstore, you'll come upon things you didn't know. When you look on Amazon, everything's direct result. You don't see that.
Right, so I get a tremendous amount of this. Last point on Eli, and by the way, I'm going to debate him on these points at the 92nd Street Y on, I think, October 3 in New York.
Good.
My book will come out then.
That sounds good.
listening to the talk, he said that I'm just giving up everything I'm going to say then. So what the heck?
Yeah, well, no, that's okay. You're giving him ammunition, though. So Eli, please don't watch this. Yeah.
The other point was that he talked about Facebook editing the web as if we had access to the entire web of everything, and Facebook was bringing it down. No, it's a very different concept. Facebook is curating things for us, and he got all shocked. The example he gives is that I'm a political guy. I'm progressive, otherwise known as liberal. It's okay. It's not a dirty word.
Progressive. It's the new liberal. Yeah.
Yeah, I hate that. I'm a liberal. It's okay.
The real L word.
At some point, Facebook
do liberals kiss each other? Because I'd like to see that. That's hot.
Only air kisses.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Only you, Leo. Only you.
I know.
Only
I'm sorry.
you.
I went there, didn't I? I'm so sorry. My apologies.
Because I like you.
I know. She puts up with a lot.
You're using your points, Leo.
We're all wearing black. I just want to say.
So he said, oh, now I forgot where I was. That threw me off for a loop. Jack, help me. What was I saying?
What was he talking about? All I remember is progressive.
Oh, right. So it cut out because he tended to look at his progressive friends stuff more. His news feed started cutting out the conservative friends, and he saw this as a horrible thing where they were limiting him. Well, that's not. The point is, he was only reading the liberals.
Right. This is the thing. You have to, as an adult, as a thinking human, you have to follow people and read news sources with lots of different viewpoints. I mean, this is kind of on you, like as a thinking person, to do, right?
Yeah.
So it depends. I mean, if you only look at the same people who are just echoing the same things, I mean, if you're following good writers, they're presenting opposite viewpoints as well. Sorry, Jeff, I didn't mean to hijack, but
no, you didn't at all. I was done.
Well, and I think Jeff makes really the best point of all, which is no matter what, we're getting a lot more inputs than ever before. We're getting exposed to far more stuff. Even if you follow only liberal writers on Twitter, you're going to still see a lot of contrarian points of view and so forth.
Exactly. You see the arguments that they're making. You see the links. We have more of an ethic of linking to that with which we disagree.
Yes.
If you don't do that, that's a sin in our world.
And you certainly don't want to go back to the bad old days where a handful of elderly white men controlled mainstream media. I mean, that's it. I mean, they still do, but at least we don't
talk about in a moment. One of whom, for just this reason, doesn't understand Twitter, and is what he's upset about. Bill Keller of the New York Times. We'll get to it more in a second, but just starting on this is that we're distracted. Twitter distracts us from what he tells us.
Yeah, listen to me.
Exactly.
Pay no attention to those other guys. There's too much noise.
Right. That's the whole media problem. Is that media took over the voice of the people, and the people are now getting the voice back. And we're no longer all watching one media window in the world. We are creating our own worlds across borders, across boundaries. Right. We Gleeks hang together and do a group hug. Right? And we can do that.
I always think of the fact that what we kind of accept as a given, which is the mass media, is really a modern invention. I mean, it's no more than a couple of 100 years old, if even that. And pre-mass media, talk about hyper-local. You would know everything about your neighbors, nothing about the rest of the world.
Exactly. I'm going to do Habermas twice in one show, and I should get shot for that. But Habermas, the German philosopher, who says that the public sphere started in the 18th century when what he said was the whole world, what was in fact a very small group of male property owners and such, had discussions in coffee houses. And it was the first time, he argues, that they became a counterweight to the state. But then he laments that mass media came along and ruined it, because mass media now spoke to us. Now, I actually think that Habermas ruined the concept, because before his view, when we had the beginnings of the press and art, I'm talking about my book now, we were able to use tools to create new publics, many publics of all various sorts and kinds. And when he and media put us into a mass, that was a terrible period as far as I'm concerned, and we're breaking free of that.
That's what I think.
We're still viewing the world in these old terms.
Right. That's exactly what I think.
And by the way, this will be on the final.
Make sure you're taking notes, kids. I mean, it's not perfect. Nobody's saying it's a perfect solution. No. There are all sorts of issues. And filter bubbles, we should be aware of that as a potential issue. But I think you make the point, Gina. Give people some responsibility to break out of whatever, filter bubbles they may have created, because a thinking, mature grown-up seeks out other points of view.
I mean, I follow all my family members on Facebook. That gives me all sorts of different points of view. I can't escape the other points of view. Sorry,
that's
family.
true.
Do they all say this name the same way?
Trapani, Trapani, Trupani, Trumpet.
Trapani.
Yeah, and I do, I do that actually, Gina. I will intentionally, as long as I can, watch Fox News. And I will.
I don't want to go that far.
Well, that might be going a little far. Oh boy, we're going to hear from our conservative viewers.
Sorry.
No, but I do actually. I actually try to follow conservative commentators. I've got Karl Rove on my Twitter feed, and
I watch Fox News, because if you don't watch Fox News, you don't know what that part of the world is talking about. Yeah. You don't know how to respond to it. You're being purposely ignorant about a part of the electorate.
I have relatives who watch Fox News. Yes.
They do that for you.
Yeah,
so you don't have to.
And then we debate. Yes.
It's the way I bond with my father. Yes.
Well, if if you watch a lot of MSNBC, pretty soon you do need something a little anodyne to cleanse the palate, shall we say. No, okay, good. I'm glad we brought that up, because I've been seeing a lot of links to this TED Talk and to the notion of filter bubbles, and I think it's a legitimate thing to be concerned about, and people should be aware that it's important to craft your sources so you hear from a variety of people.
And where he's very right, and I haven't read the book yet, but where he's very right, I think, is that we in technology tend to not see how algorithms and such do have a prejudice and do affect. It's the same argument that other people like I think Lessig and Shirky make about games. That games rules are a form of law, and they have an influence then on how the world behaves. So how the algorithm operates does indeed have a prejudice, and you can have valid algorithms that give you less valuable information than you could otherwise get. So I don't disagree with that, but the notion that we were better before, I think, is just curmudgeonly as hell.
There's also the issue of the fact that Google is collecting information about your searches, that Facebook knows about your searches. And there's
no, really?
Yeah, really? Surprise. Web history and so forth. And you can turn that off. The Harris Interactive poll talked to 2,124 U.S. adults and asked them if they agreed or disagreed that there's such an art to phrasing poll questions.
Oh, boy, is there.
Yes, there is.
Do you agree or disagree with this question? Google, Facebook, and others control too much of our personal information and know too much about our browsing habits. How could you disagree with that? 76% agreed with it. 36% of those strongly agreed with it. 16%, a mere 16%, said they didn't think internet companies know too much about us.
Is that how many employees Google has now?
16% of the population. 8% said, huh?
So the headline is, if you give someone information, they have it.
Facebook and Google know
Gina,
too much about us.
Bingo.
What is too much? This whole story is frustrating.
Yeah, I wish Harris had said, well, did you tell Facebook that you were, in a complicated relationship, that you lived in Muncie, Indiana, that you have 2.5 children? Did you tell them that? And now you're upset that they know that? I don't understand. No, I didn't tell Facebook that. I told my friends that.
It's going to lead to stupid legislation. The do not track stuff is now taking off again, where in the UK is now going to implement opt-in because of an EU regulation.
Yeah,
we're heading down the thing that's going to kill the business. It's really a problem. And there's a really stupid law being proposed in the California Senate, which I think is on the list there, Leo.
Oh, let's talk about it. I don't know. Here I am in California. It's the you call it the numbnuts privacy law.
Yeah.
Is that the official term?
Yes, numbnuts.
The numbnuts law.
Numbnutty is the adjectival form.
If this passes, this can't possibly pass. But you know, I would not put anything past the California legislature. These guys are clueless, to say the least. So, what are they proposing?
I was hoping you were going to.
Oh, I'll read it. You want me to read it?
Yeah,
it's your story. I hate to read your story.
No.
All right, I'm going to load this. This is from.
This ain't indignation. You know, it's okay.
Do they? I don't watch. Do they do that on Dignation?
They each have their stories.
They say this is. Alex will say that's my story, Kevin. I'm sitting in the doctor's waiting room reading an article about Kevin Rose, and I'm thinking, where did I go wrong? Where did I go wrong? No, it's like for venture capitalist Kevin Rose, who I remember as being like the kid who fixed the computers. It's like he was an early investor in Zynga, and I'm going, oh, yay.
You did everything right, Leo.
I guess.
You did everything right.
I'm not an early investor in Zynga. Web giants Facebook, Google, and Twitter and Skype have banded together to oppose an online social networking privacy bill in California that will require users' permission to display personal information such as home addresses and phone numbers. Senate Majority Leader Ellen M. Corbett from San Leandro, just up the road a piece, said it was originally aimed to protect minors. She said then that Facebook and other companies argued the focus on youth would encourage people to lie about their age. So she said, well, all right, we'll just say everybody. We'll amend the bill to focus on everybody.
All of us, right? And you have to fax, what's that? Mail or email specific permission to put any personally identifiable information up. So what if you think about this? This shifts the default to private. So Flickr would never exist.
So in other words, if I wanted to put my home address on a Facebook page, I'd have to fax them permission?
Yes.
I mean, just the fact that the word fax is mentioned at all just completely invalidates any. Oh.
The bill would also allow parents to request any personal identifying information about their children under the age of 18 to be removed within 48 hours. That seems, I guess, okay.
Well, but COPA has caused problems up to age 13. Dana Boyd would say that we're putting too much protection on our youth. We don't allow them to, be online and have their identities and anything else. It means that there's no such thing as a 13-year-old online. Every child is 14 at birth.
Right.
So we now extend that to 18, basically, is what that says.
The bill passed a Senate committee, but it has not yet gone before the full Senate. And then, of course, the full legislature, and then, of course, the governor. I don't even know who the governor of California is anymore. I just found out that it's not Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Well, you now have an heir to the throne, at least, a whole new one.
The little Schwarzenegger.
But Jeff, would this really mean that Flickr couldn't exist?
Well, Flickr defaults to public, right?
Right.
So what she's doing is defaulting everything to private. That's what happens. You're going to get in trouble if you just automatically share with the world the things. So it turns it into a closed world.
But it only says name, address, and phone number.
I read another story that had any PII. Any personally identifiable information.
PII, so that would include a photo of yourself.
A name, anything, is what I'd read.
All right, well, let's look at it. I got the bill right here.
Okay.
It's SB 242 by Senator Corbett. Existing law required.
But even so, it's still stupid. If you want to put your address up on Facebook, you have to give permission for Facebook to do what you just told Facebook to do.
Bill would prohibit a social networking site from displaying in the designated text field to the public or other registered users the home address or telephone number of a registered user of the internet. It's just home address and phone number. Social network shall not establish. Oh, here you go. This is the one. So in section part 2.7, section 60A, a social networking internet website, whatever that is, shall I guess that's anything, right?
Yeah.
I mean, do they define
except the New York Times?
Right. You shall establish a default privacy setting for registered users of the site that prohibits the display to the public or other registered users of any information about a registered user other than the user's name and city of residence without the agreement of the user. And the agreement of the user has to be done, explicitly, as you mentioned, with fax, email. letter.
You now see that it falls under the rubric, Your Honor, of numbnuts.
The internet website shall not complete the process of registering a new user until privacy settings are selected by the user. All privacy settings available to all users of the internet website in a conspicuous place, easy-to-use format. Oh, it's like, I don't know. Yeah, okay.
So this is basically to combat someone on Facebook publishing information about their friends and associating with their friend's profile without that person's consent.
Well, no, it prevents you from doing it yourself.
Oh, here's the definition of a social networking website. An internet web-based service that allows an individual to construct a public or partly public profile within a bounded system.
The hell does that mean?
Wow.
And the fine is $10,000 for each violation. Well, I hope it doesn't pass, but it is pretty.
And here's the other issue. Even though I know I'm just being Chicken Little here, but let's say it passes. Let's say it becomes law in California because, hey, crazier things have happened. Not your way.
Yeah. It could happen.
So what does that do then to the rest of America and the rest of the world?
Right.
So Facebook
That's the
operates
problem.
there. It becomes the high watermark of regulation.
Are you of the opinion that okay, well, where if you could regulate the internet, where would you regulate it? Obviously, not at the state or local level. Is the federal level enough? Because the internet's international. Do you have to have a international court regulate it, or can you not regulate it at all?
You don't. Net neutrality is net neutrality.
You cannot regulate the internet.
And you can regulate behaviors. You can regulate. You can say that if you steal from somebody and you use the internet to do it, or the mail to do it, or anything is
specifically internet. So child pornography is child pornography, whether it's on the net or in a book.
So those behaviors that are illegal are illegal anywhere.
Right.
Well, that's the exact problem. When the terribly tragic case of Tyler Clementi, the young man at Rutgers University who was spied upon allegedly by his roommate and then jumped off the bridge. A horrible, horrible moment. And but the argument, I went on, Katie Couric kind of debated me on the air the only time I've been on the show.
Wow,
and she says, this is a teachable moment about the internet. I kept saying, no, it's a teachable moment about life.
Right.
Yeah.
That's not about could have happened through a Kodak camera or a whisper.
A diary sitting on the desk.
Right. And so the problem is we're now demonizing the internet and technology as if it causes these problems. Yeah. The truth about the Tyler Clementi case is the fact that in this day and age, if any young person thinks that being discovered as gay is reason that you should go kill yourself is not his problem. It is society's problem that we got that far. And that's the real story. We don't blame technology for that. We blame friggin' society. End of sermon.
Thank you, sir.
Yes.
And you're right on. And Gina and I both say, yes, sir.
Yeah, and the story had nothing to do with how Tyler was able to connect with other and gay teens in general are able to connect with one another and find community and find connection at one of the most horrible times in your life, which is coming out. They didn't talk. It wasn't about it gets better, right? It was about the website.
The internet lets people find out stuff about you.
Right.
Though I wonder sometimes, Jeff, if you and I are so abnormal that we are not. Because you and I both, and I don't know if it's because we're kind of pathetic exhibitionists or we're a new breed. We're a new breed of open people. But our default is very, very public.
It is. And I think that comes, you tell me, but I think that I didn't necessarily start life that way. I didn't have the means to be that way, right? And only because blogs did we get the means to do this and then other tools that follow. And then having done it and pushed the envelope, I've found no harm.
So neither of you have been harassed, stalked, threatened?
Oh, I've been stalked.
Yeah,
okay.
I've had bozos come after me in various ways, yeah.
But I was stalked not because of the internet. I was stalked because I was a radio host.
Well, okay. And so the internet's a platform for becoming well-known, right? Well-known people.
But I've been public since I was 20 because I've always been a broadcaster. And but
have you ever truly felt threatened?
Yeah, this woman had a knife. But
okay. I feel threatened by that.
Yeah.
And so did that make you question whether or not publishing your whereabouts was maybe a good idea? Or
no. This is a very good question.
Yeah, I mean.
I think, and I'd love to hear what Jeff says, but I think I've received so much benefit from living in public that it outweighs the risk, the very real risk, but in my opinion, low risk that it presents. So, and I think that there are ways to be public safely, like not use Foursquare to check in when you arrive, but use it to check in when you leave, that kind of thing, although I don't care. But I am a guy. That's a very important point.
Well, very important.
Yeah, I'm a kind of hefty guy.
But you have a wife and daughter, right?
Well, and this is where it came up for me, is in obviously they have to make that decision for themselves. Abby actually is pretty public. She has a Quora page, or not Quora, the other one, FormSpring page, where she answers a lot of questions. She has a Twitter site. She's fairly public. She did a podcast for us. Jennifer does not want to be public, so you won't see many pictures of her. Although then she gets mad at me because there's no pictures of her. It's like, well, are you shaming me? I said, no, you don't want any pictures of you. And then, but so I respect that. Although I have to admit, it's hard for me, and I'm kind of proud of my kids, and I want to.
Yeah.
And Henry, you know, when he was pretty young, said, tweet my cell phone number. I want to get some texts.
Wow.
And I did.
Wow.
And it was kind of funny because his phone
blew up.
Was vibrating so much it went off. You know, it went off the table, and then we put it on the table, and it went right off the table again. And he thought it was great. He probably does like being public.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, but it is risky. I understand it's risky. It's more risky for women. More risky, you know. I mean, and everybody has to make that choice.
People with things that are attacked. But Gina, I think you know, you're absolutely right to raise this, and I'm not at all against looking at what bad could happen. But what I argue about the curmudgeons is that they want to manage, this legislation manages around only the worst that could happen.
Right.
And if that's what we do, we're all in caves.
We miss out on the benefit.
Yes.
I agree with you. I agree that the benefit outweighs the risk. That's why I'm doing the show. That's why, you know, open source developer, blogger, all that kind of thing, right? But I can see, you hear the stories about people,
Kathy Sierra is a good example.
Yeah, Kathy Sierra is a great example. I mean, that's some scary stuff. That would make me want to go into a cave too, right? I think it's important not to, and and I have kind of some of my own experience with it, and it's hard. It's hard to. It's a constant weighing of the benets versus the risks. The benefits certainly do outweigh the risks.
You control how you protect yourself.
I do. As much as I can.
So you are public in a safe, what you deem to be a safe way.
There were those situations where a friend kind of casually mentions, something publicly, that we had done together. There are times when you can't control all the information that gets published about you, right?
That does happen, yeah.
So, maybe my friends don't realize how, that I'm trying to, not publish pictures of my wife or not mention exactly where I live or that kind of thing, So I think that's why, and I'm just playing devil's advocate because I really do agree with you guys, but I think this is where this kind of legislation comes up.
Well, you're right, and that's where we need rules. Societal rules. We need to have this conversation, and it needs to become expected societal custom that you don't out somebody else. Everybody's privacy is their own, and I had to learn that. I mean, I'm not that way, and so with my family, I really had to kind of learn not to say stuff. But Jeff gets so much out of his blog posts about prostate cancer and so forth.
But you remind me, I should have put this in the book. I forgot about this. But I remember once when I was in San Francisco and I was a columnist. So same thing. At age 23, I was public, in a way.
You had a byline. Yeah.
I had a byline and a little picture the size of my nose. And so I remember going out on a kind of date, because that's what my social life was like.
I've had a few of those too, yeah.
Here I was, straight guy in San Francisco. You'd think I would have had the greatest time on earth. It was. Anyway, so I was out in kind of a date with her and mentioned the column went to this movie, and I thought the same thing with you and Jennifer. I thought she'd be insulted if I didn't say that, she said something. She got really mad at me. Why did you drag me into your column?
Yeah.
And she was right. She was absolutely right.
Yeah.
Big lesson learned. You don't drag others in.
Gina, you've changed your settings.
Sorry, I don't know what's going on with. I should be better now.
You are much.
Well, some tech trouble here. Sorry.
No, that's fine. But so it's good. It's good for us to have this conversation, but it's not good for us to legislate.
Well, but here's the key thing: the sane discussion that we're having right now about bad things that could happen. How serious is the risk? What do you do about it? Can you protect against them? Can you educate people? That's all 100% absolutely legitimate. Yep. But that's not the way the discussion is being held. So Gina is playing devil's advocate. We need to discuss both sides of this. That's absolutely sane and right.
What are the risks?
Especially as things change.
What's never brooded about, and I'm glad you're writing a book on it, is what are the rewards?
That's the whole thing.
Because very few of us live this way. This is not a typical way to live.
No, it's not.
Most people say, "Oh, that's what? Why would I want to do that?" And so I think it's good to talk about the amazing rewards of living in public. For one thing, I feel, I live in a community of viewers and listeners that are incredibly valuable and supportive to me, and I wouldn't have that if I hadn't put myself out there.
I've really found it true, in the whole prostate cancer thing, where I said a lot. I really only had one guy who attacked me, and he didn't like me anyway.
Why would he attack you? You have prostate cancer. Why would somebody attack you?
But he found he was trying to make another point. I write about it in the book. It's a guy named Mark Derry. He can't stand me, never could. But he uses the larger point to say that we're all becoming bloggeric and saying too much. Well, I find that to be an odd thing that he decides what's too much.
Yeah, good point.
The whole notion of oversharing. Well, who's to say that that's oversharing? Now, at the same time, I can acknowledge that it's very easy to get really boring and tell people things they don't want to know.
Well, but they're not compelled to follow you.
Exactly. So for them to say that I'm oversharing is a way to restrict my speech, and I never like that.
Oh, I thought that's a good point. So in effect, this law here is well, you can't say it's an abridgment of speech because it's a law for commercial entities to protect people. I'm not sure. Why is this law dangerous? By the way, we've lost Gina. We'll get her back. She's probably rebooting. Yeah.
I'm gonna filibuster. I don't know what the heck.
Filibuster. It's your turn.
No, it's always my turn. I take to it far too many turns.
No, we love it. No, these are great subjects.
Why is it dangerous? I think it's dangerous because of the unintended consequences. Because a lawyer would say to the Flickr founders when they founded, you really shouldn't do that. You better default everything to private. And then it would have been just another little photo service where we would have shared our little photos with other people, and we never would have gotten anywhere. And because the effort that goes into, the legislator would say, but no, you can do it. You just have to get, a fax. Well, it's not going to be worth it. It's not worth building. Attack with it. And look at the wonderful, amazing things that came out of Twitter. Look at what we can share in that way.
That's
what if if Twitter had to get a fax from us? So it's okay for me to say where I am right now.
Or for the guy in Tahrir Square in Cairo,
yep,
who had his location on his tweet. Oh, you can't publish that until you get him to fax you.
Right, exactly. And so I think that as always in these cases, it's unintended consequences. One thing I say in the book, and I go way overboard in drawing parallels to the Gutenberg age. People will make fun of me for it, but I don't care. I'm absolutely
I do it all the time, too. I agree with you.
Obsessed.
That's the last big information revolution.
Oh, and it has an equal impact what we're going to have today.
Yeah.
And the problem remains, this guy wrote a RAND study in 1996, which is, or very early in the web, saying that we shouldn't try to forestall the change that the net brings, and that those countries in Europe that did so with the press fell behind in general. Bigger ways.
Well, that's the risk. That's a good point. That's the larger risk.
And it's cultural, too. I mean, go back to Bill Keller, editor of the New York Times, in his curmudgeonly piece for this Sunday's magazine that's now online. That is pure Twitter bait, and we're all falling for it, including me. But he just goes on about how Twitter distracts us from what he's saying to us, that it's not real conversation. Well, who's to say that he decrees that? That it's not real relationships. Well, you bet it is. And I compared it in some tweets to Erasmus, who had the same exact reaction to books. If I may read just a moment's quotes.
Oh, yes.
So Erasmus said, "To what corner of the world do they not fly, these swarms of new books? Books," he said, "are hurtful to scholarship because it creates a glut, and even in good things, satiety is most harmful."
That's right.
Finally, the minds of men are, quote, "flighty and curious of anything new and would be distracted from, quote, the study of old authors like Bill Keller."
Yeah. So don't write anything new because nobody will read our crap.
Yep.
Bill, that article struck me as the article we see from everybody who kind of just discovers Twitter.
Yeah.
It's almost embarrassing. He'll look back on this, I think, in a couple of years and go, "Oh, God, I can't. I was."
Oh, I'm going to find. I have an exchange with him over blogs. I try to get him to invite bloggers into the New York Times and have bagels. And let me see if I can find it.
He's the executive editor of the New York Times, we should say.
And he's tweeted 20 times.
Yeah, he's new to Twitter. So he thinks it's a bunch of people eating having sandwiches. I mean, I hear that every time when somebody gets new to Twitter, and then it takes them 6 months, but then they go, oh.
Yep.
And
it happened to all of us.
It happens to all of us. I had the same reaction. And it's just kind of sad to see him publish it. He'll feel bad about that later.
Because he's an executive editor of the Times, right? I mean,
well,
he says the Times has made some, a lot of kind of efforts in social media, but this is truly the way he feels about it. Yeah. It's just an uninformed opinion, and it's one-sided. I thought the thing that bothered me the most about the article is that I thought that there were seeds of valid points. It was just really one-sided and uninformed. I mean, this is obviously a person who hasn't
he just discovered it.
Truly used these tools in a good way. I mean,
I wish somebody would just collate all of these articles because there've been so many of them, and then just put them all together because they all say the same thing.
Yeah.
I wouldn't recommend going to it now at all, but for those who might be interested, if you go to buzzmachine.com/times, you'll find an exchange from March 2005, and we had basically the same exchange over email about blogs. And by the way, please ignore the spam links that are in there. I don't know. It's an old archive. I don't know how to get them out. Help! And it's way long and kind of ridiculous. But he was just kind of similarly dismissing blogs then, and I think now he would not. Well, he would to some extent. But it's a pointless thing. It says the progress has come, things have changed, and it goes back to bad things could happen. Right?
I don't like it.
Exactly.
You kids with your Twitter. Stop it.
Get out of my newsroom.
Get off of my lawn. Oh, well.
My memory is getting kind of bad, though.
Yeah, well, we're all going to be there any minute now, so just, let's be nice to the old farts. Because I think that. I always think, okay, so what? In 10 years, there's going to be, something new. The pooper, and I'm going to go, I don't like it. I don't want to know when somebody's going to the bathroom. And it'll just be me being out of date. Actually, maybe not in that case.
Well, that actually, that's where you're more unusual than your publicness.
I am.
People our age who have this thirst for the change in the news.
There's not a lot of us. Yeah. No, but that's what's keeping me young.
Amen. I wouldn't trade that for the world.
Does Google News stink? Because MG Siegler says it's really bad and everybody hates it. I use it every day, and I thought, well, what? I didn't realize Google News was that bad.
I don't think it stinks.
I use it. Is it a bad thing? Anyway, they're redesigning it a little bit. The newly expandable stories on Google News in the U.S. released today gives you greater story diversity with less clutter.
No more filter bubble. Well, maybe. You can expand. Stories down, and you can do a flashy thumbnail slide side to side. Looks pretty snazzy. I can't say I use Google News every day, but I do look at it occasionally.
I don't know why. When I need tech news, when I need to see what the big tech news stories are, I go to Google News and I click the text. Oh, it is different, isn't it?
Well, I certainly use it every week. I was using it furiously an hour ago.
Right. That's how we find our stories, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, see, this doesn't have the new features. It's only on the front page, I guess, that the new features are.
Yeah, it does look that way. It's just the front page.
Yeah. It's cosmetic mostly, right? Is it or no? I can't tell.
I think so. I think one of the things that I read, I have not played with this, that, the ability to restrict how many blogs it shows you and how it defines blogs. I remain unhappy with Google News.
Boy, you'd think Arnold Schwarzenegger was the only story in the U.S. Holy cow.
Right, he's the first.
First, second, third, fourth, fifth. What the hell?
Like under
obviously,
top
Leo,
stories.
this is customized to you, so you must have.
The filter bubble again.
Yes.
TMZ Live, your questions answered. That's the top. Really? Okay, maybe Google News does stick. That's the top story? The tippity top story?
Oh.
So that's not. Am I logged in? I am logged in. Wait, let me look if I log out. What's the top story if I log out?
Yeah, I've got TMZ Live as my top story as well.
Oh, man. They must know me better than I do. Yeah, even if I'm logged out. But, of course, the number 2 story is the International Monetary Fund guy.
Sex scandal.
Then the third story, U.S. sanctions Syria for human rights abuses. That might really, you might want to move that one up a little.
Yeah, see, I don't have that as third. I have Gates says somebody in Pakistan knew about bin Laden.
Me too.
Oh, you guys are, see, that's because I logged out. Let me log back in. Maybe.
Fourth for me is Android Google security scare, which I have to believe is unusual for me.
Yeah, you know what? When I log in, Gates is number 3 on mine, too.
I can't reveal because that might be telling you too much private information.
Is it Glee? Come on, tell the truth. Is it Glee right on the top there?
No, I'm just kidding. No, the fourth one is also the Android security scare for me. So it sounds like we have similar ones. Although I'll be honest, I don't look at Google News very often. But this has to be personalized to your search results, right? Or your.
Well, you'd want that to be.
You'd want it to be.
So is that why the number one video on my Google News is man eats 250,000th Big Mac 39 years after his first?
I like that story.
Yeah. Or Russell Martin gets a panic here. Manny Petty. I don't.
When I get that many burritos.
Yeah. There should be a Chipotle video here.
Yeah, I also have the Big Mac story.
Do you?
Russell.
They must know something about it. See, now, here's the paranoia thing. An insurance company can then say, you must be eating a lot of junk food. We're going to denied.
Right.
So the solution is single-payer insurance. That's all. Moving on. See, my liberal bias snuck in. Moving on. Let's talk about the Android issue because it's potentially a pretty big issue. Google says we've got to fix, but to get fixed, you got to get the latest version of Android. Good luck with that. But before we talk about, you guys can moan in private. We're going to talk a little bit about Squarespace.com, the secret behind exceptional websites, and our fine sponsor for this portion of the This Week in Google show. I probably shouldn't say the This Week in Google show. That's too many thes. Squarespace.com/twig is the place to go to find out more about this. It's hosting plus the best darn software out there, not just for blogs, but for websites in general. If you're tired of wrestling with your content management system, wrestle no more. You get a great-looking site because you start with these incredible templates that each and every site looks unique because it's so easy to customize with sliders and buttons. Of course, if you know CSS and JavaScript, the sky's the limit there. Then makes it easy to post on your site with that incredible iPad or iPhone app. I wish they get an Android one. I have to talk to Dane and Anthony and say, hey, Android version. Great stats, beautiful photo galleries. A lot of photographers use Squarespace because it makes it so easy to post your portfolio. There's form building, data collection, even forums. When I say data collection, by the way, I'm not saying like sneaky. I'm saying you could put forms on your site. No, not sneaky data. Really is nice. Try it free right now. Go to squarespace.com/twig. Click the green Try It Free button. All you need to provide is a site name, a password, and an email address. No credit card or anything like that. For 2 weeks, you have a full run of the Squarespace software. Anything you can do, you could try. It's a great way to create a site for family or friends who don't know about the web or don't have a site. If if your friends have a business that isn't on the web, you got to explain to them. If you're not on the web, you don't exist. Create that site right now, squarespace.com/twig. You can create it for them. Hand over the keys. It's kind of fun. I know a number of people who do that. Squarespace.com/twig. We thank them so much for their support of This Week in Google. So security experts say that there is a massive flaw. Actually, there's a number of flaws here. Let's talk about the one that's on 97% of all Android phones that basically leak your credentials out in such a way, leak a token out in such a way that people can get that token and then log into your Google accounts, your Gmail and your calendar and contacts.
This is similar to Firesheep, right? The idea is if
it's
you're on an
Firesheep.
unsecured network, someone can get a token or sniff that token and then log in as you to calendar, contacts, and other Google and non-Google services, right?
I just don't understand why more attacks don't happen on smartphones, because they're just sitting ducks.
Don't jinx us.
It's true.
Oh, I'm
it's
sorry.
True.
Yeah, I shouldn't mention it. Hacker, like they don't know, Jeff.
They keep saying that it's a server-side fix on the chat room and Twitter.
Yeah, isn't that interesting? They fixed it everywhere but Picasa. Until the server-side fix, though, it only affected, I think, Froyo, right? So if you had Gingerbread, you were vulnerable. They did push a fix on other versions of Android as well. Any version of Android prior to 2.3.4 was susceptible. So they fixed it on the server side.
Which they kind of had to, right? Because getting out these new versions, as we know, that doesn't happen very quickly. And this is the kind of fix that needs to go out very quickly.
Right.
So it's a good thing it was server side.
So, yeah, it was basically Firesheep, huh? It was that Firesheep thing.
It sounds similar, but they're saying that it was stored on the servers in an insecure way.
Oh.
And this is why the server side fix. So it may not be exactly the same as Firesheep, but it only happened on insecure. I'm not really sure.
A weak authentication API.
Okay.
Google's API requests. See, it's funny because I tried when Firesheep came out. This is the program, the plugin for Firefox that lets you go to an open access spot and see who's on Twitter, who's on Facebook, and then impersonate them because you get their token. So you don't have to log in. It's just a cookie, and then you just use that and say, I'm in the same set. You piggyback on their session, basically.
Right.
So this is similar to that.
Except that the API was insecure. So they could change the way they handle that token on the server side.
Google's API requests a token by sending a password and username encrypted via a clear connection. So the token that's coming back, your password's safe, but the token's coming back in plain text.
Right.
So if I'm sitting on an open network, I can see the token float by and grab it.
Right.
So it's good temporarily while you're there.
Well, that was kind of the issue. This token lasted, I think, longer than one would like.
Yeah, it's a good question. I wonder if you changed your password, would it?
No, that should change it.
Token? That should change it, right?
That should change it.
But still, you want to roll this fix out server side without requiring
tokens normally expire.
Yeah.
I don't, but they have expiration dates. You have to set the expiration date, and I don't know how they were set. This was the problem with Facebook that a couple of days ago, where there were some tokens that were never expired. Most Facebook tokens expired after 2 hours, but there were some tokens that never expired, and then that was further compounded by the fact that it was leaked in a clear URL that the third-party applications could send out. So another reason why it's really good that Google is going to standardize the operating system versions across the board, right?
Yeah.
Because if you've got a lot of people on older versions of Android, fortunately they could fix this on the server.
So, Leo, that's interesting. So let's imagine that there were a client-side flaw, a bad emergency flaw. The structure is not set up at all to do a broad release.
It should be. And it needs to be. You're right. It isn't, and it should be.
Yeah.
My understanding, and in this I don't know if this is accurate, but I read something that said this. I don't even remember where, so I don't even know who to attribute this to, is that there are 3 levels of patches from the carrier. There's a security patch, which is free to the carrier. The carrier should push out right away. It's kind of transparent. There's a fix, a lesser important fix, and then there's a software upgrade. And that's the problem, is that these Android version upgrades are software upgrades, which the handset manufacturers have to pay the carrier for. Is that right, Gina? Am I saying that right?
Right, that's right. But security fixes, there is a mechanism for security fixes.
And they're supposed to be just...
Oh, okay. Good.
Yeah,
that makes me feel better.
There is.
And it's not, there's no charge for that, and it's kind of automatic. And so presumably that wouldn't be too hard.
Okay. Never mind.
Never mind.
Yeah, you're right.
All right. Anyway, well, we've let you know. Just be aware. What's the story with this, the blurred house? Mr. Blurmany, Jeff Jarvis.
So as we know, Germans went numbnutty about Google Street View, and they demanded 244,000 demanded their Pixelungsrecht. I love saying that.
I love that.
To get their homes or businesses pixelated. And so a local hardware store used this as an opportunity to pixelate a house in real life and use it as a...
an ad? Is it an ad?
Yeah, it's an ad. The house is an ad. Let's see if it goes.
Is this in Germany?
It's in Germany. The thing's in English, but don't worry about it. So it says that blah, 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 blah. Everybody hated it. And then they go and they, in a minute here, you're going to see them.
Over 250,000 people have opted to have their homes pixelated in Germany. That's why we call it Blurmany So they did this. They
blurred the house in real life.
So they went to the hardware store, Profi Ernest.
The Profi Ernest is the hardware store, and they went and they took a picture of the house and they blurred it, and then they put that picture up over the house. And here they go. Here they're doing
it. Here it is.
And so they then say, "There's no reason to be ashamed of your house. Come to Profi Ernest.
Fix it up." That is funny.
Great ad campaign.
What a great ad campaign. People are looking at what's wrong with my vision? There's something. I guess people kind of know about Blurmany, so they kind of know what's going on. I love it. All right, a little commercial interlude,
a little silly moment
for Profi Ernst, which is so that's a hardware. It's like a hardware store.
I guess so. Yeah.
Stephen Hawking has a message for Google. Professor Hawking says, "Philosophy is dead." This was at the Zeitgeist conference.
To which, by the way, let me just pull off here. What do we have to do? Create sucky, brown-nosing shows. I don't mean sucky, but I was gonna be obscene there. I'll stop myself. Brown-nosing shows and a book about Google, and get invited to friggin' Zeitgeist.
Hey, we kiss your ass, Google. Let us in.
Jesus.
Well, it wasn't Hertfordshire.
Well, I'm fine.
You'd go to Hertfordshire.
I hear it's lovely.
Jeff travels. He travels.
So what is the Zeitgeist? I mean, I know what Google Zeitgeist is because they do that at the end of every year, like kind of a state of the universe, state of the search page.
Right, what people are searching for.
Invite people in, and they can impress them. And Karen Wickery said on Twitter when I complained about this, I whined and moaned and fetched. And she said that the algo is complicated.
Oh, God. Blame the algorithm. Oh, God. I hate that. The algo is complicated.
Right. You just had this vision of someone in the future. Why won't you marry me? Well, the algo is
complicated.
That needs to be a new Facebook drop-down for relationships. So Hawking was speaking, which I think would be kind of cool.
So he basically says that philosophy hasn't kept up with the fact-based world of things like physics, and it can't answer the questions the way that facts can.
Well, you know,
it's basically a science thing.
I think that there is something even deeper here, which is that the value of facts has been devalued a little bit because facts are so widely available.
Oh.
And this came to me when I gave my father-in-law, who's a science teacher, an iPad, and I showed him the elements thing, and I showed him some like Star Walk and stuff. He said, imagine if Copernicus, who spent most of his life building the telescopes that allowed him to make the observations to come up with, you know, the fact that the Earth revolved around the sun. Imagine if he didn't have to build, you know, that the facts were there and he could do his synthetic process just from, you know, all the information that had been gathered. So the access to information changes the value of facts on the one hand, which in the old days were much more valuable because they were harder to get. And on the other hand, gives many more people an opportunity to synthesize and theorize.
Not to go back, geez, Habermas twice, Gutenberg 3 times.
We're keeping score.
Who wrote the,
we should have a scoreboard.
I'm just doing it before the chat room does. Get Jarvis off of there.
I don't think they can spell Habermas. I think you're safe.
Who's Habermas? Wasn't he? Didn't he work at Facebook? So Eisenstein points out that before the printing press, the scholars had to go to the books. Right? If you wanted to be a scholar, you had to go town to town to town to find the books to get the knowledge, and the books kind of couldn't compare with each other. There's one copy here, one copy there. Books come along, changes life. Before printing presses, you remembered things by creating rhymes and things. You didn't need to do that. You could look it up.
Right.
So life just changes. It's okay. I don't think it's bad. And I don't know that I buy Hawking's argument. There are some things that we don't have answers for, and so philosophers try to fill in that blank as best they can, and that will always be the case. We're never going to know everything.
Speaking of which, the Winklevoss twins have decided to appeal to the Supreme Court. You know,
this is going to go
as much as we maybe have disagreed with the social network's portrayal of the facts around the birth of Facebook, I think they got the Winklevoss dead on.
Yeah.
Because, they go to Lawrence Summers and say, he stole our idea. And Lawrence Summers said, you're men of Harvard. Come up with another idea. And
don't you want that to be the scene in the Supreme Court next? Let's pull them in just so we can make fun of them.
It's just an idea. Come up with another one.
Right.
Instead, they say, no, but this was our idea. And they already got, what was it, $160 million? And that wasn't enough?
I mean, this is the thing. Do you want your legacy to be, I spent all these years fighting over a couple of bucks about a stolen idea because I didn't have another idea? I mean...
I kind of enjoy this. I mean, I don't know what the Supreme Court will do, but I think it'd be great if they watch the movie and then just duplicate Larry Summers' response.
Exactly.
You're men of Harvard.
Well, it won't come. You know what's coming next? And actually, I would watch this in a flash. The Winklevi reality show.
Oh, nice.
Let's follow the Winklevi twins.
or the Winklevi join Celebrity Apprentice. Now that
would be great.
Of the door.
Yeah, learn from the modern world and be great celebrity. Don't continue this lawsuit. It's really interesting. I mean, they really feel slighted. They feel injured, obviously.
They feel like they deserve more of the money.
Yeah. They said, Facebook lied to us. They were worth more. If we had known, we wouldn't have accepted a paltry $160 million.
Well, but that's the irony. They didn't accept 160. They accepted what, 35?
But it turned out to
be good management of Facebook, right? That it's now worth 160 million. I somehow think that the Winklevi wouldn't manage it quite so well as Mark has.
Can you say chutzpah in Harvard? Chutzpah. They've got chutzpah. Those boys certainly have chutzpah. I see a word sock puppetry, but I don't see a.
Do we want to discuss
a link?
The Facebook's. I couldn't find one, believe it or not. The Facebook sock puppetry. Maybe the story may be too old now.
What is it? I don't know.
Facebook hired Burson Marsteller.
We haven't talked about this.
No, we haven't.
Is this the term sock puppetry?
Yeah.
Because you're using somebody as a mouthpiece.
Yes.
So they hired a PR firm. Somebody at Facebook PR had a singularly bad idea. I mean, I think that's mostly what you can accuse them of. To hire a PR firm to plant stories on blogs saying, it's not Facebook, it's Google. Google's the privacy problem, not us. I mean, not them. Facebook. I mean, Google. So I'm not a bad sock puppet. So what do you think?
Does this mean that Facebook is fundamentally a morally corrupt company?
Oh.
I mean, sorry, that came out maybe a little stronger than I meant for it to be. But like every time a story like this happens with Facebook, this isn't the first time that Facebook has done, beacon the privacy stuff. I mean, it feels like there are times when Facebook is deliberately hiding things and doing evil.
We are
I don't know.
Well, if they're owned by the CIA, I guess it's not a surprise.
Well, the CIA also wants to sock puppet. They put out an RFP, the Army did a while ago, to do a whole bunch of sock puppetry in Arab nations.
It's just dumb because that somebody, which is what happens, some blog is going to say, hey, you won't believe what just happened. Facebook offered me $150 to publish this article.
Right.
I mean, it was inevitable that they would get caught, so it's just stupid. More than anything.
Inevitable.
It's just stupid.
And it just says these days, I love it because it goes to the book. It just says these days that if you don't stand up behind your name and say what you're saying, then
you will be outed.
You're gonna get caught.
For some reason, it doesn't bother me. It just seems like this is the kind of thing that goes on all the time, doesn't it? I mean,
am I being naive? Does this kind of thing go on all the time? Does everybody do this and they just got caught? It feels like doing this.
Yeah, that's what PR companies do.
That's what they do. I mean, they may not do it in such an egregious fashion.
This
what would Google do?
Really bad.
It is. It's creepy. I don't know if you're naive, Gina. I mean, it is definitely creepy, but I do feel like it's kind of standard operating practice, right? I mean, this is all companies try to spread FUD about the competition, and they use a variety of tools to do it. And most of the time, they're trying to get the press. They're trying to get us. It's misdirection. Pay no attention. It's over there. And that's what PR people do. Sometimes they go, pay no attention. It's over here. But it's the same thing.
Right.
The interesting thing in this case, Gina, was that I'll back up and now quote my book. I'm being really obnoxious today.
Please.
What would Google do? I,
what would Habermas say?
I weiß nicht.
You should write that book.
He'd say, "Pixelate my home." So I said that there were two professions that couldn't be googly: law and PR. It's an easy punchline, but also just said that the reason is they have clients, and that they have to speak for the clients, they have to do the client's bidding, they have to take swords to the stomach for the client, right? What's interesting about this story is that as soon as this happened, Burst Marsteller, the PR company, threw Facebook under the bus.
Oh, yeah.
And said, we never should have done this, right? So what I wonder about that is, what's more dishonorable, doing it in the first place and then trying to blame your client for it?
Yeah, no kidding.
And I think Burst Marsteller comes across 10 times worse even than Facebook.
Don't they? They have a terrible reputation. It seems to me.
Yeah. They do a lot of political stuff.
Because they didn't protect their client. They didn't take the hit.
But they do. They work for some pretty, as I remember, some pretty nasty fellas.
And who would hire them now? Right?
Yeah,
that's the problem with PR.
Right. Bad PR means no more clients.
They are the world's 5th largest PR firm.
Right.
But they do. They represent, governments.
Yep.
And with poor, our human rights record isn't all that bad. Look at Facebook. The Nigerian government hired them to discredit reports of genocide during the Biafran War. Okay. Okay. The Argentinian junta, after the disappearance of 35,000 civilians, who are you going to call? Burst Marsteller. The Indonesian government, after the massacres in East Timor. They also worked to improve the image of Romanian president and funny man Nicolae Ceausescu and the Saudi royal family. So I think Facebook, at least the person at Facebook knew who to call.
Well, that's a horrible thing, too. They knew they were doing something sleazy. And called the sleazy company.
Who are you going to call? I'm betting Burston suggested it. You know what we could do?
Yeah, right. You're right. Right.
We did this before for the Nigerians. They loved it. They've also worked for Big Tobacco.
Yeah.
They European biotech firms to counter Greenpeace arguments on genetically modified food. There's a whole website I'm looking at.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. This makes me really trust Facebook's choice. And
they went to these guys.
Wow. This is the thing.
AIG.
Facebook is not trying. They're not trying to be good.
No.
That's not their
I found trouble finding stuff on Google News, which means that they've cleverly managed to kind of bury this.
Yeah.
And Gina's reaction is great because you're shocked, but it also
I'm also naive and earnest.
It's not around that much. We just unearthed it again.
She's so naive and earnest.
I mean, it just felt like another check. Like, of course, Facebook did this.
Yes, it is. They have this kind of. You really do have to look at kind of their track record over and over again. By the way, I think that one of the real disservices that the mainstream media, which spent a lot of time on sock puppetry, did, and one of the reasons we didn't cover sock puppetry so thoroughly over the past week, is it distracted people from a much bigger issue to me, which is that Facebook was leaking people's profiles.
Right.
And, I tweeted, I didn't tweet this story. I tweeted, change your password on Facebook, because if you don't, you have the potential that all sorts of third parties have your profile information due to leaks. And that was kind of buried. And I think it's interesting. The media, well, it's an easier story, right? The technology is complicated on the other stuff. And besides, sock puppetry has a good name.
It does.
Do you think it's creepy that an Israeli couple named their baby Like?
Yeah.
It might mean something in Hebrew that's not.
Well, if you named it Like because you like the baby, that's okay. If you name it Like after Facebook, that's creepy.
As long as they don't tattoo a thumbs up on its rump, I think it's probably okay.
Developers, software creates culture.
Well, we had that story when after the Egyptian spring that an Egyptian parent named their baby Facebook in Egyptian.
The problem is, what's this kid's nickname going to be? Dis.
Hey, Dis. I like it. I'm embarrassed to say I put a like button on my blog this week and a send button. because it drives so much traffic, you can't not do it. And now that Bing is incorporating this stuff, I mean, I don't know anybody who uses Bing, but I presume somebody's using it.
Yeah. Bing is now putting things your friends liked higher in the search.
Right. So if
before they just marked it, now they're moving it up. They're prioritizing. Right.
So you're crazy if you're, and by the way, this is another reason to hate Facebook. You're crazy if you're a website and you don't have a Facebook like button, because you're in effect going to be downgraded on Bing because you don't.
Right.
So it's important to now you have to play in this ecosystem, and this is really where Facebook.
Oh God, I need to redesign. I'm so many years overdue redesigning my blog. I've got to get somebody to redo it.
Well, I'm not suggesting you put a like button. Make better decisions with the help of your friends. Learn more. Okay. Do I have to turn it on? Does it require me?
It looks that way. It looks like you have to press this try social search now button. I haven't looked at Bing in ages.
Try social search now. Maybe this.
Your Bing experience gets even better when you connect to Facebook.
Nice-looking young Microsofty will explain this. By the way, it's got a like button on the explanation. These things are. I think this is the bane of the web. Just a moment. Oh, here she comes. Hey, Bing's a happy place where you can find things your friends like.
Go shopping with my friends, but sometimes they're not in the same city, or they're in class, or we really just can't get together in a store, so I'll do my shopping online. I'll actually head over to Bing Shopping, and one of the great features that they have there is this thing called shopping lists. By building a shopping list.
No, sorry, not going to do it. Okay, now, when I search for, let me search for something else. Let's search for Twig.
You must have connected already, because I'm getting a connect. Yeah,
I pushed the button. But not my friends apparently don't like Twig. See, this is why I need a like button. I need a like button. Let's look at TechCrunch.
I don't click it that often.
Yeah, click it more often. Look what my friends like on TechCrunch right here.
Oh.
MG Siegler likes it.
MG's liking his own articles.
He's liking his own articles.
Well, there you go.
Let's see. What does he say? By the way, MG, notorious Apple fanboy. Why isn't Google Chrome a part of Android? Oh. And now to see if the social search stuff actually works. So actually, I fell for his little honeypot.
You did.
I did. So now I'm losing my friend. I guess this is why it's important that you cultivate the right friends.
People who like things.
People who like
Do you
things.
like people who like?
So what do you think? I know. Anyway, I think it's a bad idea. So let's take a break. We're going to come back with our. Do we have any other big stories that we don't want to miss? They canceled that Stuff My Dad Says show.
It's funny, but it's not really the cloud. It has nothing to do with the cloud.
The Google Translate beatbox.
It's funny for a minute.
All right.
Yeah, that second video is pretty funny.
Google Translate, the remix. When we built Google Translate, we thought it was a cool tool. We had to admit we had fairly straightforward ideas about what it would be useful for. However, no. Here is a Google Demo Slam Translate Beatbox. Let's see what he's going to English to German.
Isn't that great?
He typed in a bunch of random.
He did. No, the beatbox is pretty good. That second video is pretty good too. They like remixed a song based on in Chinese.
All right, let's see. This is a Google. Is this Translate also?
Yeah. It's similar.
So typing in something in English into the Chinese box. Google Translation.
This has been
translation.
Okay, that's in English. 1, 2.
500,000 views in Taiwan.
Translation. Translation.
Sounds like Kraftwerk.
今天打开电脑发现 Facebook 上大家都在玩酷狗翻译。
Wow.
说干都可以用音调。我经常说这实在是太酷啦。然后我就领导。
I guess if you're reading if you speak Chinese and you read the Chinese and then see what the translation is, it's funny, right?
都做得好无聊，所以乖一定要来自己的一首啦。Translation.
It's pretty catchy.
Kind of awesome, right?
世界上最厉害的翻译机，我今天玩它玩得好开心。
Solitary dog, estimated dog translation. Shares, by translation.
网络上大家都用的文案来比方
Oh, and it even talks about the beatbox. It's a Chinese beatbox.
This is awesome. Like a whole new art form.
Piano solo.
Yeah, you know what?
I like it. I like it.
Here's the problem. It just proves we get no serendipity in life, you know?
Right. Yeah, because I would, never found that.
No. We'd never find that.
Yeah.
No, we didn't see that.
Let's take a break.
The same old stuff about Android. That's all I do.
I don't want to hear anything about beatboxes. Take that off of my stumble upon. I'm unlocking my iPad right now because I want to show you a new iPad app. Then we're going to get to your tip, tool, and number of the week. With the new furniture is on its way to our new studio.
I was watching the video, my friend, and I tweeted before that I want to quit my jobs and my life and come out there and move there.
I'll set up a desk for both of you. It'd be great.
Yeah, that new space looks awesome. It looks amazing,
yeah,
Leo.
That's great.
I'm so excited. And we awarded the furniture. So we made a deal, a product placement deal with Restoration Hardware. Do you know that?
Great. Oh, yeah.
Nice.
I know them well.
I love that. I love hanging out at Restoration Hardware. And so they have now an iPhone, an iPod, and an iPad app that is their whole catalog. So I downloaded the catalog on here. This is how we actually figured out what we were going to get. This is their 384-page source book. So I don't even get this in my mail. I get the little tiny one. But now you can get the whole source book here on your iPad. And you can zoom in at stuff. I'll show you. Let me see if I can find some of the stuff we ordered. Because we wanted to go to the Captain Nemo route, kind of, I don't know, retro. I wanted it to look like 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. A little steampunky, but not completely. Like this clock.
Nice.
Yeah, we ordered that clock. I love that clock.
Go Restoration Hardware.
Yeah.
Nice app.
So see, I zoomed in on it. So it's in the mirror though. It's backwards. But yeah, they did a nice job. I mean, I think you have to order when you click order. You go through the web. But this is really nice, and you can easily zoom in on what you want to read about. It shows you the page.
That's because Apple would have gotten 70%.
Oh, you're exactly right. That's exactly right.
Sorry.
No, you're right. They didn't want to do in-app purchases. Apple would have taken a
Gina
chunk.
cynical. She's always looking for the evil motive.
I think we got this one too. We got a bunch of big clocks.
I like those.
Yeah,
and some really cool furniture. They have this kind of airline. It looks like it's made like an airline wing. It's hammered aluminum. Anyway, we were looking at these chairs, but I vetoed them. I think we got the table though. I love that table. I think that's what we're going to use on the TNT set. And we got this bookshelf. Anyway, thank you, Restoration Hardware, for providing a whole bunch of beautiful furniture for a new set. And in return, I'd like to invite you to check out their free iPad app. 2.0 just came out. Restoration Hardware. Search for it on the iTunes App Store. Thank you, Restoration Hardware. We love that. You know what? They have, it was in there for Christmas. I bought they have some good coffee table books. I bought some Christmas presents there. Retro games. I love that.
Nice.
Let us go to Gina Trapani now for our tip of the week.
Tip of the week, spreadsheet nerds.
Yay.
There are now pivot tables in Google Docs.
What?
Pivot tables.
That's the most sophisticated feature in Excel. They got it in Google Docs?
They did. I noticed it when I logged in to look at our rundown today, and you'll see a little kind of pop-up box that say pivot tables are in. If they're in the data menu, you choose pivot table report. And obviously, this works really well if you have a spreadsheet full of numbers.
Yeah, it won't work on our show rundown.
Yeah, it won't really work on our rundown.
But this is a very powerful tool that it took me a long time to learn how to use. Excel.
It is one of those. So you go to that right area, and then you can define what columns you want to what rows and columns you want to add to the table, and and then you can generate charts based on your pivot table. I have to say, I love spreadsheets. I'm not a pivot table expert, but the video on the blog post that I have in the rundown there gives you kind of an example of showing revenue over time from a sales report. So it's really cool stuff. Pivot tables.
It's probably non-intuitive to learn it, but highly worth putting the energy in because it's a very powerful way to kind of massage data and look at it.
Definitely.
Cool.
Yeah, Google Docs, got to hand it to them. There's always something new. I feel like whenever I log into Google Docs, I get a little notification about it.
It's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
It is. I love the Google. We mentioned this before on Android. They now have a great Google Docs app.
Yes.
Which really makes it even more useful. Jeff Jarvis, your number of the week.
18% of Americans log into Facebook before their head leaves the pillow in the morning.
Oh, crap.
35% use interact with some application.
Wait a minute. You're saying they're still lying down?
Yes.
And like
Well,
before they get up,
yeah,
actually, I think I understand this. You grab the phone, you hit the Facebook thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whoa.
Okay,
You
I can get
do?
up now.
It was a research conducted by Ericsson.
Yeah, so it's phone. Yeah.
It's phone. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. That is truly amazing.
That's crazy.
So I've been, for my tool of the week, I've been playing an awful lot with this Samsung Galaxy Tab. And while I admit that it needs a lot of work, I mean, I think I can't wait till 3.1 comes out. I wish it would come out soon. Because it crashes on me fairly frequently. It pauses and stuff. But I'm kind of it's growing on me.
You got some mad widgets happening there.
Look at
Leo.
all the widget. I've been doing a lot of widgetifying. There's the Google
you got
Docs
a lot
widget,
of just
Evernote.
nice.
Here's Gmail. This is what I talked about last week, Grocery IQ. Because what I do now is I spend a lot of time looking for tablet apps. Because there aren't that many. There's only, I don't know, 100, 200. They're not that many. I found a couple that I like. I wanted to share with you. This is, I love Hacker News. I read Hacker News religiously. This is kind of like a newsreader for Hacker News. It crashes on me a little bit. It's HN. Yep, see, it crashed. And I know. It just did a forced close. Let me see if I can launch it again. No. And I don't know if this is Honeycomb or not, because like even my browser crashes a lot.
Oh.
But this is a great newsreader. It worked for a long time. HN Droid, Hacker News Droid, but it's just Hacker News. But a great way. I've always looked for a good way to read Hacker News because if you look at the straight feeds of Hacker News, you only get the headline. You don't get text.
Right. There's so much.
Right.
Feedly has done a pretty good job. It's portrait only, but it does take advantage of the nice big portrait screen on the Samsung Galaxy Tab. And this is the same thing. It's kind of a reader. I think does a nice job. We don't have Flipbook, Flipboard, which is a really great app for the iPad, but this comes pretty close.
Yeah, it looks similar.
Yeah.
It's nice.
So I like this. Can never figure out where the menus are on these programs. Okay, so you can subscribe. It's in the upper left, folks. You can subscribe to various feeds and so forth, various topics as well. And it makes a nice little magazine. I have to say, in some ways, this does really use the portrait mode is extra long on a 16:9 tablet, but I don't mind this. This is kind of makes it very legible. It's very cool. And I wanted to show you this because Steve Gibson sent it to me. This is a really nice. Look at this. It folds up tablet stand that you could put in your bag.
That is nice.
It works with any kind of tablet, and the manufacturer's name is Arkon. He got it on Amazon. Arkon Resources. They're about $10. So watch. You open the legs, and they have little soft pads so they don't slide. So you open the legs, and then his suggestion was to leave this. Let's see. How was it like? Oh yeah, fold this up like that. So that's kind of the basic mode. And it's got little notches in the feet for the tablet, so it goes like this. It's very sturdy, and because of the rubber on the bottom, it just does not slide.
Oh, yeah, that's really nice.
Yeah.
A lot cheaper than the smart cover.
$10. Of it. So, yeah, we missed the smart cover, right? But
I missed the smart cover on the tab a lot.
Yeah, but at least we have this. And you can, of course, by changing this angle, very easily adjust the angle of the tablet to all sorts of different angles. So I think this is pretty nice. Arkon, Arkon Resources. And I think my tools for a while are going to be more tools on the Galaxy
Honeycomb
Tab.
apps.
Yeah, Honeycomb apps. Google's apps look great. The contacts really it does a nice job. I don't want to show. Yeah, good. It does a really nice job of using the display in a beautiful way. I hope
Gmail's awesome.
Gmail's fantastic. Maps is really cool. I hope more apps take advantage of Honeycomb. And we'll, of course, give you a review of 3.1 when it comes out. But I have to say, it's buggy. It really is still a little bit buggy. You see the little hesitation?
Yeah.
And this is something that really bugs me. Maybe it's because of a widget thing, but it has to redraw everything when I change to portrait mode. That's not good. The iPad does not do that. It's much more. Look at that. See, that's annoying.
Right, yeah.
Hope they fix that. But, and I was a little negative about this. The more I use it, the more I like it. Have you played with yours more, Gina?
I've been liking it, but I have the iPad now.
Oh.
And so, and the iPad's a pretty amazing device. So having them side by side has been really interesting to me. All the Google I/O sessions are on YouTube. They went up like that day.
Good.
So, and I was, had a lot of fun talking to people, but I didn't get to go to a lot of sessions. So just last night I watched the Honeycomb Highlights session.
Good. I'll have to watch that because there's probably a lot
really
of
good.
stuff.
Nice walkthrough of like some of their decisions and what you can do in the UI, like changing an app to a tablet app. The status bar.
Oh, good.
And recently, it's worth a watch if you really kind of want to get your head around what they were thinking with Honeycomb.
One thing I do kind of like about Honeycomb, and I'd like to see this in Ice Cream Sandwich, is the new notification system. On this, it's down at the bottom, and you can click individual notifications, or you can pull up the whole. Pull up the whole notification and it scrolls. Yep. And I think that this is actually a very nice system for notifications.
Yes, I agree.
I hope that this is part of Ice Cream Sandwich. And, of course, I can close any individual notification just by tapping the X there. So I think this is pretty good.
It is. And notifications have always been sort of Android's strong, one of their strongest parts.
Much better than
it's
the
always
iOS.
Better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
but Honeycomb has some ways to go. I'm looking forward to Ice Cream Sandwich.
Yeah.
Let's say that.
Yes.
And 3.1.
3.1. We'll see, All right, that does it for This Week in Google for this week. Gina Trapani is at smarterware.org. Check out her great blog. Of course, she still writes for Lifehacker from time to time, and her day job is thinkupapp.com.
Beta 12 just dropped yesterday.
Woohoo!
So download and install. It's getting better. It's getting better. We're coming close to 1.0.
It is a really powerful Twitter analysis tool that I do hope becomes widespread use because I get so much out of it. I really am glad I have an account on it. Thank you. Someday I'll have my own ThinkUp server.
Someday. It'll be good. We'll get you set. Yeah. We'll
no, I read the instructions and everything. It was like my PHP's missing one thing.
Yeah, it was the PDO library, right?
Yeah.
We're going to get you set up.
I could get my sysadmins. They'd do it for me if I just asked. I'm kind of a do-it-yourself kind of guy.
Yeah, I like that about you, Leo.
I hate having to ask a sysadmin to do anything. Bear and Chris would do it for me in a heartbeat, but Jeff Jarvis is at buzzmachine.com. That's where he exposes all his intimate secrets. He's also the author of a great book, What Would Google Do? Soon to be Public Parts. I can't wait to see that.
Did it come out?
Where he will continue this conversation about public versus private. And he tweets at Jeff Jarvis. Gina tweets at Gina Trapani. So that makes sense.
Gina what? Gina what?
Trapani.
Trapani.
Is it related to trepanning the brain? Where you cut the skull out and you let. Is that any? It's like that where it was invented at Trapani.
No relation.
Okay. Just checking. Isn't that what they call it? Trepanning? Where they cut a portion of the skull out and they let the. Anyway.
Define : trepanning.
Dude, look it up.
I am.
It's what you're named after, so you ought to know.
I should. You're right. Yes. Yeah. Look at that.
Yeah.
Perforate a person's skull with a trepan. Trepan. Wow.
It's kind of medieval. They probably don't do it much anymore.
That's TRE. I'm TRA, so I'm safe.
Oh, okay. So you have never perforated a person's skull, to your knowledge?
I have not, to my knowledge.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We do this show every Wednesday, 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern, live.twit.tv if you'd like to watch along with us. And you can always download the show after the fact at twit.tv/twig. We appreciate your watching. Don't forget to buy a brick. We are selling bricks for the Brick Twit House because we got to raise money. Because all this stuff that we're doing costs money. And you can do that at bricks.twit.tv. We do have international sales. It's a little tricky. You have to call the 800 number. It's toll-free, but it's 855. If you have Skype, just Skype out to 855, and that's free. And you can order the brick and everything. But I do apologize. It's so hard to do it if you're international. I don't know why that is. Has something to do with, I don't know, payment, probably. Bricks.twit.tv. We got the 4x8, the 8x8, and you can even get your logo on there.
Oh, yeah.
Very
I'm
cool.
so doing this.
You don't have to do that.
My name will be on the wall.
No, you don't have to do that.
No,
I'm gonna get a big, you know how when they have a construction project, you have the big plaque on the wall, that says the Brick Twit House built May through October 2018, and the names of the construction company. And then I'll have all the names of the staff and then all the host names. So your name will be on a big plaque.
Aww.
Yeah.
That's so great. I cannot wait to see this.
It's going to be fun.
Me too.
I got to come see the cottage, though, before.
Yeah, well, you got time.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, just anytime, sometime later this year. I think we're going to be in August. I think August is when we'll be in.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Good to talk to you all. We'll see you next time on This Week in Google.